we will welcome Clark T. Bell, who is the CEO of AquaYield. Welcome him to the stage.
How is everyone? Hundreds of people, man, I can't believe this crowd. I'm getting nervous actually. Everyone, great to be with you all here today. Today we're going to be talking about some of the fundamental issues that we're facing in developing the agri-food chain, and specifically the issues as they're related to a grower. A grower, when I refer to that, is somebody that actually grows a crop like a farmer, and then that is sold into into a grocery store or into a restaurant or whatever means that would be. Commonly in our industry, we refer to something that's called the race to 2050, and I'll dive right into that. So the race to 2050, essentially what we're discussing there is we've got to feed almost 10 billion mouths over the next 30 years. And we have to do that with the same amount of arable land, the same amount of water, and the same amount of minerals and resources that we've had previously. So if you guys hear from me to talk about the race to 2050, that is what I'm referring. So first I wanted to talk about the resilience that American farmers have in this day and age. So over here, to my left and to my right, I'm going to showcase just some of the leverage ratios that farmers have. You'll see it here that farmers are the most leveraged business unit in all of the industries combined in the U.S. So farmers literally are working with margins that are very tight, and they have got to find more innovation than they've ever had made available to them. In addition to that, we as a common group, we need to overcome certain obstacles, and one of those being we have a nutrient challenge when it comes to sustainable fertilizer management. So this is actually an article back from, I believe this was in 2016, 2016, when the United States Department of Agriculture came up with this article. Essentially what it states is, again, that the global population is projected to reach 9.7 billion by 2050, and the nutrient challenge is that we need to improve fertilizer efficiency to produce more food and energy crops while creating less pollution. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you can't go into the Gulf of Mexico and recreate anymore because of all the fertilizer runoff. And we've also seen, for me, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and one of our largest bodies of water is called the Utah Lake. I can't go boating on Utah Lake anymore due to runoff of a number of resources, and one of them, namely being fertilizer, has made it so due to algae bloom and eutrophication, we can't even use these lakes. So these are some fundamental issues that are coming from us over applying nutrients on our crops, such as fertilizer and chemicals that are affecting other parts of our life. So by 2050, the world has to double our production of food. So we've got to do that in the next 29 years. And when you look at places like Florida, that is the number 2 producer of fruit and vegetables in the U.S., that's a terrific responsibility for growers such like they have in Florida. And we have to do this to keep up with the growth of the global population. So I want to talk about how agriculture is at a crossroads. And essentially, this is the status quo of the current crossroads. So first, we're seeing large consolidation and conglomeration. We're seeing more ag retailers that are being bought by other ag retailers. We're seeing other big food producers that are purchasing other food producers. So consolidation is continuing. And farmers are now being viewed as price takers. There's an information disadvantage to growers as well. And then we're also seeing land and farm consolidation. There's hardly any local entrepreneurs to support local farmers. Much of that is due to the income is just not as exciting for them as it has been in the past due to this consolidation. And now there's little left for the family farms, which are actually 99% of the 2.1 million U.S. farms right now. So let's talk about what is the right road, how we can overcome these obstacles. I believe the right road, first and foremost, is that we need to have competitions and options, the better and, of course, the American way. We need to see that farming options should be independent and entrepreneurial. And we need to have an information advantage to growers so that they can actually get this information and use that more proactively with them. Throughout this conference, I've heard a lot of people talk about data and being able to use this data to make better decisions. We need to see these data sets be more advantageous for farmers. We need to see a farm sharing economy. For instance, there's companies that are going out and instead of having a farmer be responsible to buy a couple $1 million worth of tractors, you can now share that with a group of farmers in your area. That poses some issues because oftentimes they need to use those tractors at the same time. But I believe there's an opportunity to Uberize the economy for farmers. We need to see thriving local economies and communities, and we need to see that farmers are connected and enabled by technology. So I believe that's the right road moving forward for farmers when it comes to innovation in the future of the agri-food chain. So the opportunity comes down to innovation. It comes down to the entrepreneurial spirit. So things like what I'm being involved in as the CEO of AgriFood, where we've come up with nano-liquid technology, where we're able to, instead of have a farmer apply 10 gallons of a certain phosphorus or chemical to an acre, they can now get that down to ounces. Most of our products are applied at 4 ounces to the acre. So with nanotechnology, you can see mega results, and they can be farmer tested and earth approved. So this is, issues like this with biotechnology that can help this. AgriFood, we've received a lot of national recognition, and in 2021, we're experiencing our biggest growth that we've had as a company, but it's taken us 7 years to get here. So I want to pose and make you all just think about, for us to be able to innovate the agri-food chain and for us to showcase opportunities for a farmer, it generally takes 5 to 10 years for them to see that full opportunity and to use that disruption on their farm. As well as some of the press that we've seen locally and with farmers. We've also seen some great recognition just for people that are not involved in the agricultural community, such as Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes. So I believe that farming and what's now called ag tech is becoming rather sexy. People are really interested in knowing about where their food comes from. And one thing I want you guys to think about is, in 10 years from now, are we going to look at our food labels and are we going to see every ingredient that it took to grow our food? I think this is something that is coming to become a headwind for us all to face. Every Sally homeowner wants to know if Roundup was used in the celery that they're feeding their kids. There's a lot of concern here. So I just a thought piece for you all is what that is going to become for us in the near future. So what is the future of ag disruption? Of ag production. And what I believe the future is I believe it's that we have all of these large ag conglomerates and companies that are consolidating, and it's one of two things is going to happen for them. They're either going to have to disrupt their business models so that it can be more effective for the local farmer and those that are actually growing what we need to have for food and fiber and have on our kitchen table, or they're going to be disrupted by smaller companies such as mine or other smaller companies, startups that I'll be discussing here today. So it's really a matter of disrupt or be disrupted. This is a very interesting article that Ernst & Young put out, and it's called The Brand New Order. Disrupt or be disrupted. And it really focuses on creating value with consumer products, but it really relates to every single industry. I definitely would recommend for everyone if they want some good 15-page reading about what it takes to disrupt in industries to read this article. So the opportunities with agri-food chain when it comes to innovation, I'm just going to showcase a couple options that I think we will see in the marketplace. The first one is with ag inputs. So when we refer to ag inputs, what that means is I'm referring to anything that you put on the leaf of a crop or into the soil of a crop to make that crop be stimulated, either by growth or by not having it grow or to kill a weed or what have you. So things that are going to be in this category are going to be things like fertilizer additives, biologicals. You're going to see things like crop protection, such as pesticide, herbicide, insecticide. That's the one that a lot of people are concerned about due to the media and what we've seen with Roundup and dicamba. And as well as seed coatings, so hormones that you can actually put on a seed for you to have better results. Additionally, where I think there's opportunity is with robotics. We're all aware of the short-handed nature of what's available in labor for all workforces, and of course farmers are seeing that even more. In this past year, 2021, there were a lot of farms that did not get their labor force with the H-2A program, with getting labor from countries such as Mexico or Puerto Rico, or even places like Argentina. I have one customer of ours. He is still without 88 workers on his farm, and he has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in crops due to him not being able to pick those crops. So things like robotics to be able to pick your crops or to treat them is a huge opportunity. A really interesting company that I want to showcase that's doing interesting things with robotics is the Small Robot Company. Essentially what they do is they have a machine that they call Wilma, and that's the one here in the bottom. And Wilma will go out, Wilma is a robot, by the way. Wilma will go out over the crop, and it will just drive over a different field of a farmer, and it will actually identify, and you guys can see on here, on the bottom corner, the bottom part of this slide, it will actually identify weeds that then Wilma sends a message to Tom or Dick, and Tom or Dick is actually behind Wilma, and that message is relayed to them from her taking that photo when to pick that weed. And so you literally are seeing a company that's replacing tractors, replacing labor, and has had it so that you don't have to spray chemical. And what Tom and Dick will do is they'll actually do one of two things. They'll go down and they'll find the exact location of that weed and they'll burn it down, or they'll have a machine and they'll actually eradicate it out of the earth by pulling it up mechanically. So these are opportunities that are coming to the fruition. This company is based in Europe right now. They've just barely began to commercialize. They raised over $80 million in venture financing. And I think over the next 5 years, we're going to see some drastic opportunities for people to bring these types of technologies into their farm. Another opportunity is with genomics. So everyone is familiar with genomics from the standpoint of, you guys have heard of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. You can have an opinion of what you think of GMOs, but the fact of the nature is that GMO crops have actually saved millions, if not possibly billions of lives. The ability to have these crops that can overcome a lot of pesticide resistance and issues that arise for countries such as India have been game changers. And there's going to be more opportunities with genomics moving forward. So let's talk about some types of plants of what you can see with the genomics, and I just jotted these down just so you can all be aware of what these opportunities are. So let's talk about conifers. There's now 30,000 genes of conifers, and they include cone-bearing, primarily evergreen plants, such as cedar, fir, pine, and spruce. And researchers are now working toward developing high-performance trees and are adapting plants to temperature change and pest resistance. So this is going to make it so that we can have more lumber in our supply chain. I'm sure everyone in this room in the past year has seen what that looks like with lumber and issues that are there. Let's now talk about tomatoes. With tomatoes, we have 34,000 genes. Researchers are working to increase the amount of light tomatoes can be under in order to increase total crop yield, and we think that this can be increased by 20%. So imagine if you're a farmer, and just by simple research with genomics, that farmer can now grow 20% more tomatoes. This is a game changer. Let's talk about potatoes, the largest vegetable crop. Potatoes, we now have 39,000 genes. Potatoes are susceptible to a wide range of pests and diseases, and researchers have identified over 800 genes associated with disease and pest resistance in order to create hardier, less susceptible varieties of potatoes. So it'll make it so that that grower can actually grow more potatoes and apply less pesticides, which of course is, there's going to be less residue or no traceability of that chemical onto our plate once we're eating that next to our great T-bone steak. Let's now talk about apples. Apples, we have 47,000 genes. Scientists are currently working on planting genetically engineered apples that have the ability to resist browning when sliced or bruised. These apples are now being sold to the public. So you literally could get an apple and throw it against the wall and pick it up, and you could still eat that without any bruising. So these are some awesome opportunities that are coming in genomics. Corn, which is the largest crop in all of America, They've studied corn genes that influence leaf and ear size, water control, and drought responsiveness. I'm in the West, so the mega drought is something that's of interest for everyone, and being able to have drought responsive crops is going to be a huge thing that we see over the next 5 to 20 years that you guys will all be made aware of. If we can grow our crops with less water, that's of course of interest for everyone. Generally speaking, just so everyone knows, of our water that's available in the West, I'm not sure exactly what is in the East, but in the West, our water is owned 82% of it by farmers. And so when we talk about the mega droughts and we talk about the water issues that we're facing due to such high temperatures, I mean, all of us are in Las Vegas now, so we know about these high temperatures, but farmers are actually the ones that own this water. And so if we can help them come up with better solutions to be using less water, that's of high interest for all of us as we start to see this mega drought and the issues that we're combating with global climate change. Lastly, cotton. Everyone that I can see in this group is wearing some form of cotton right now, and most likely you woke up out of a bed that was a cotton bed. Scientists and farmers are working to identify genetic variants that optimize fiber length, so you can get more cotton fiber out of what you've grown, quantity and quality to develop new cotton strains. So these are just some of the opportunities with plants that I wanted to showcase to you all about what we can see with genomics. There's brilliant people that want to solve these problems, and the issue when it comes to growing our food and our fiber is it should be of utmost importance. Other things that we can use to be innovating the agri-food chain is things like digital systems. There we go. So this is just one company that I just selected. I don't have any ownership in this group. I don't even know them. It's just a group that I thought would be interested to talk about. So SenseGrass is the name of the startup. They use smart farming technology, and what do they specialize in? Well, what they do is they use artificial intelligence, or AI, to do web-based soil intelligence systems for fertilizer management. So essentially what they do is they put out some probes into their soil, and they can plug into these probes what is the ideal amount of fertilizer and the ideal amount of water that we need to have to grow this crop. And that artificial intelligence will then actually tell you in a web-based platform and onto your phone when you should actually be applying fertilizer next or when you should be watering next. For someone like me that's a third-generation farmer, I have not been in the field as much as my father has, who's now 63. And he just knows by nature every 7 days he needs to apply this. For me, I don't have that. I don't have that expertise and capability, and so an opportunity like SenseGrass will provide us with this knowledge. Very exciting stuff. So there's opportunities that I see when it comes to disrupting and innovating in the agri-food chain. What Apple had done to the personal computer and what Tesla has done to the automotive industry, I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see the category-defining startups in the agricultural space that are going to overcome all of these issues that we have in the agri-food chain. Thank you so much for your time, and let's open it up to questions. Back there.
You mentioned the global expansion of the number of mouths you had to feed.
Yes.
What's the specific U.S. projection for the population in 2050?
You know, I actually don't know that. I should know that. I just know globally it's 9.7 billion. I know in the U.S. we're not growing at the staggering rates that China and India have been growing at, specifically India. But certainly those economies are going to be impacted by American innovation because, of course, we're most likely the most innovative country in the world. So, yep, great question. We should find that out. I'll Wikipedia it and send it over to you later, right? Over here.
Thank you. Great presentation. You mentioned a variety of different technologies, some very high impact things. I wasn't clear, maybe I missed it. Is there one specific spot that you feel is the greatest potential that you're working on above, whether within genomics or within robotics or otherwise?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say for all the crop communities and types of farming, there's a better opportunity over others. For me, what I've harnessed is biotechnology by taking nanoliquid technology to reduce the amount of chemicals and fertilizers. That's what I've been working on. And we've been able to really get into the supply chain effectively in just 7 years and are having great success. And 2021, the reason why it's been our best years, one, we have a lot of R&D that proves our knowledge, but also we're seeing things like California, where right now, if you're a farmer in California, you need to reduce the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that you've been using on your farm by 40%. And for AgriFood, we're really the only game in town that can do that efficiently and not make it so that a farmer can have less crop yield and have less quality. So that, for me personally, that's where I think the biggest opportunity is in inputs. Everyone is concerned about the use of Roundup, the use of 2,4-D, dicamba, and the residue that leaves in our soil. So I think we need to look at better options that can eradicate that. And again, I think in 5 to 10 years, when you go to the grocery store, you're going to turn over and you're going to look at the nutrition facts. And then I think on the other side, you're going to see what was everything that was put into this thing that you're about to put in your mouth to make sure that it's safe. So I think those opportunities. Great question. Thank you. Other questions? Wow, I did a great job. Awesome. Love to hear it. Anything else? Thanks, guys.